Emil Smith-Rowe bursting into the box, and that is a wonderful finish from Emil Smith-Rowe. It's his first goal in a Fulham shirt, certainly at Premier League level. It's the first of many, and look at the smile on his face. That's a quality goal from a quality player.
Hello and welcome to the That's So Craven Fulham podcast, your one-stop shop for all things Fulham. How was that, Jack? Was that all right? Basically just stole Jack's script, and as you can tell, I'm not Jack. And if you couldn't tell that, then there's something probably more wrong with you than us. Anyway, but here we are to talk about all things Fulham, starting mainly with our, Nottingham Forest review. And I am joined by the Pod Daddy himself, a nickname that he's not going to shake, Pod Daddy Elton. How are you doing, Elton?
Yeah, I'm actually not even reacting to it because I just think that the harder I push back, I know what's going to happen. I've been around this before, so I'm just settling into it. And if it sticks, it sticks, and if it doesn't, well. But I'm really well. I'm happy, My football team won on Saturday. My cricket B team won yesterday. That's Australia beat England, by the way. And things are going really well. And I'm looking forward to this, Skibby.
Unfortunately, Dave isn't here. He's probably the only one of us between the two who actually cares about cricket. I really don't. So, I mean, the fact that you guys won, I'm happy for you guys. If England won, I still probably couldn't care anymore, but there you go. But just back onto your nickname, though, I am adamant that we're going to work with Jack. We're going to get some That's So Craven Pod Daddy t-shirts done. I want a Pod Daddy t-shirt. Yes. And we'll do a giveaway at the cottage. Get your Pod Daddy t-shirt, £5 a pop. They will sell like hotcakes.
Well. Okay, all right. I'm up for that. I'm up for that.
You're so flustered. It's so great.
I was going to say, we're also joined by nickname pending, but we will get one. Sammy, how you doing, Sammy?
I'm doing good. I care even less about cricket than anyone else here. But aside from that, I'm very, very happy to be here. I'm really enjoying. It's like the youth team is finally getting like a proper run out. And with Skibby and Dave now hosting, I'm excited for everything to come. I'm excited to get into this. Excited. And as always, I'm tired because it wouldn't be a podcast without me being really, really tired. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's go.
Smashing. Well, hopefully you're still on your top form. And to be honest, I have no doubts that you are. I never doubt you, Sammy. Tired, drunk, whatever. You're always on top form. So. But yeah, so I mean, first and foremost, we've got the Discord. That's So Craven Discord. Everyone's talking all things Fulham. We talk about absolute anything and everything, and it's a really fun place to be. But you know what would make it even more fun? If you, the listener who is not in the pod, who's in the pod, who's not in the Discord just yet, if you were to join us, I think it would be even better. So check on our socials, join our Discord, and join in with all the fun and games of talking all things Fulham. And to also add, we've got the website, so cravenpod.com. You can check out all the different articles, normally reviewing a game, could be a talking points, anything and everything which some designated writers will give to the pod, really. So it could be Jack, could be somebody else, always giving some fantastic views, so be sure to check that out. Right, so the official part is out of the way. So we had a game on Saturday.
We did.
We had a game.
Great analysis.
We had a game. Some football was played. And, we were happy for it. So I think the first thing for me, Elton, the starting lineup for Forest was a headache for Fulham fans, Forest fans. I think even for probably Nuno himself. We had a lot of guesses of who will come in for Morgan Gibbs-White. What was your view on the lineup for more of a Forest? Because I think we knew that we would be unchanged because it's just Marco's way. But what was your view on Forest's team? And did you sort of pick out any particular weaknesses when you saw that team lineup?
No, but more on the Marco. I'm never going to change my starting lineup later because I think the time is coming where something has to change. We have to be a bit more adaptable. and I'll come to that later as to why my thinking is. No, look, they're a funny team, and as the match sort of went along, I started thinking more and more about how actually unexciting they are to watch. I just didn't enjoy watching. They've got some good players, and they're a very big team, very physical. They've got some very, very good strike power up front. Obviously, a couple of big players out, but uh, no, they're a really funny team, and I just didn't quite know how this was going to go. And in the end of it, all they did was just stodge the middle, make things difficult for us, and really just ensure that we were in for a stodgy afternoon.
Yeah, for me,
but we need to get better at actually playing those stodgy afternoons.
Yeah, for me, I'll just call it as it is. A lot of this game was quite boring. Let's be honest; it just kind of was. It was actually it was very, very well contested, very, very physical, but kind of not necessarily clunky, because I think that both teams were actually quite tight, and it was actually quite succinct, and it was quite like a battle of strength. But yeah, there was quite a few points where it did kind of drag. I thought we were quite evenly matched with them. What's the name of their striker again? He's a big boy. He's a very, very big boy. Yeah, he's a big boy. Like literally the first 20 minutes, I was like, I thought he was going to cause a little bit more hassle than he actually ended up doing for like the rest of the game. But I mean, I thought Tete looked great pretty much from the start. And I thought Robinson actually also looked really, really good as well. And obviously Anderson and Bassi. Our entire back line actually looks so strong. Not only in like the first half, but throughout the entire game. So any kind of like, I don't want to say lackluster, but any kind of like lacking performances anywhere else was really kind of complemented by how strong the back line looked. I was really, really happy with that.
Hey, yes. Sam, he asked you about the lineup.
Since when has this podcast ever been about like us actually answering the question? Are you actually giving me that shit right now? I'm not happy.
Do you want to know something really interesting?
1 second.
Something really interesting is that I am professional. I have notes. So, and Sam has actually read my notes and gone on to the exact thing I was going to ask him about, which was in the first half, we found it really hard for them to break down, because they packed out the middle. They had 4 centre mids across the entire, midfield line. And it seemed clear that Awoniyi and Chris Wood were going to be very, very physical. I mean, two strikers up front is pretty unheard of in the Premier League these days. So that was kind of very different. But, they had Ward-Prowse that was an absolute menace from free kicks, as well as Olaina had this monster throw. So it was very, a physical game. It was very clear the way that they wanted to play, which was to sit in, soak up all the Fulham pressure, don't give them any space. I think Smith Rowe didn't get much of a touch that first half. But Sam, I was going to ask you, how did you feel that we defended overall because of this absolute physical units that were just throwing everything at them? And like you say, Awoniyi was an absolute thorn in the side, wasn't he?
Yeah, and shut up, Dad. No, I thought we did great. I mean, Anderson's amazing. He's truly, truly amazing. He's got so much class, and he's obviously so strong. But like, just like the composure on him, at no point did I actually feel that we were absorbing pressure, but we were dealing with it so well. Do you remember with like the Parker season? We had that just kind of like feeling of, well, we might not necessarily score, but it doesn't feel like we're going to concede. And then we would probably concede in like the last 10 minutes. And we just kind of got used to that as a bit of a concept.
Yep. So I think we might have lost Sam there. Yeah, look, a difficult afternoon for both our defence and also our striking unit, really. I mean, like you say, it was an interesting point. Olaina's got a throw on him, hasn't he? He's
Absolutely,
got a big throw. And, he used it to great effect. And what I like about Anderson is that he actually he reads the game so well. He's always in the right place at the right time, and he's obviously very athletic. And then when he gets the ball, he's very good on the ball. So he's a class act. So happy to have him here. But I thought,
Yeah.
generally speaking, our defence was very, very good. Even I thought Robinson was probably Robinson probably shone the least, but that is not to say that he didn't have a really good game. I think the others probably um, stole the limelight with some fairly, um, you know, sort of high quality, high what's the right word for it? Critical defending, where Robinson just sort of went about his work and did very, very well. Tete, I thought was very, very good again. Um, um, but what has to be mentioned also is your man Sasa Lukic. um, I know you're a reluctant lover, but I thought he first half he did really, really well. I mean,
He
he had a
did.
good game. He had a good game.
Absolutely. I think the interesting enigma, which is Sasha Lukic, which is, I know there's this absolute love-hate relationship at the moment between Fulham and stats. You know, we've got one centre mid who's hitting all the right notes for stats, but his performances potentially are not as good as you expect. Whereas the other half, which is Sasha Lukic, is not getting any stats. He's scoring terribly when stats come in. But the main critic is the eye, right? And he was phenomenal. I didn't realise how quick he was. I didn't realise, how well he reads the game. And he was just, like you say, absolutely phenomenal. But I can tell you that as a centre defensive mid, he made 0 tackles, 0 interceptions. According to Opta, this is, so I could be completely wrong. I think he gave away 2 fouls, but he was the man for me. It was interesting to see that, he was everywhere. But like you say, he just seems to be doing all the simple things with such composure, which just really releases, off any pressure from the defence. And also, I guess, Smith Rowe and the wingers, allowing them to sort of not have to defend as much. But yeah, I mean, there wasn't too much to sing about in that first half. We were really struggling to break them down. But yeah, half time 0-0. You thought things had to
Actually,
change,
I thought Adama was useful again in the first half. I thought Iwobi struggled. He was busy. He was trying to do something, but he seemed to lose the ball. And his final ball, not only in shooting, but just his clinicalness is not a word, but his clinicalness was pretty average. And so he was definitely trying very hard, but I think he wasn't that effective. Maybe Olaina actually had the better of him, certainly in the first half.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they are both Nigerian countrymen, so he probably does know all of his tricks. But a question I actually kind of wanted to pose to you both is, do you reckon it's probably time for Nelson to actually take that spot? Because I had similar thoughts regarding Iwobi as well, and I really like Iwobi. And there's 100% still like a place for him in like the squad, and definitely a part of the rotation. But and I like the way he links up with Smith Rowe, but I think in terms of like where we're currently at, I think we need a bit more of an attacking threat. And everyone knows how I feel about Nelson right now. So I want to pose that to you guys. What do you reckon? Do you reckon it's time for a Nelson to come in, or?
Do you want to go first,
I don't think
Skibby?
so.
I've got
Yeah,
thoughts.
I don't think so. I like the balance, which is on the right hand side you've got absolute chaos with Adama and Tete. Absolutely, there's no. It sounds awful to say, but there's no real strategy. There's no real ideas there. They just basically, let's get the ball, let's go as fast as we can up the pitch, and just cause chaos. Whereas on the left side, you've kind of got this smoother build up with Smith Rowe and Iwobi, and then Anthony. He does bring a little bit of chaos, but not as much. But it's kind of like that balance across. And I think if you were to take out Iwobi, who's kind of the composed winger who kind of gets a foot on the ball, tries to bring others into play, whereas Adama's the one who's just like run, run, run. If you then had Nelson come in, who's just run, 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 as well as just getting your man, it could bring that kind of imbalance. So it's that point that I like about Iwobi is that there's a bit of composure, a bit of calmness, and something to sort of bring a bit more of just running at your man. He's trying to sort of bring it inside and work the passing, which I don't think Nelson can do as well. I could be wrong, but that's the only reason I could see why Iwobi keeps his place in the team.
I do get that, and maybe call me like a 12-year-old playing like Ultimate Team, but I just want my attackers to just be completely balls to the wall, just causing chaos. I understand the argument for like a conservative, well thought out winger that's actually like slowing stuff down, but for me, the idea of like a winger slowing stuff down, it's not really what I kind of want, but I understand the argument. I just thought I'd pose it.
Well, one of the things I'm not really here to make an argument for why Iwobi shouldn't be in the starting lineup, because I think he adds a lot, and I like him. I have some frustrations with sort of the end product, and I think it does. I think it is hampering us going forward, and I think. My feeling is that when we get into games like this, where teams sit back, low block, worse than a low block, a congested defensive midfield, what you need to do is be intricate and technically sort of clever at unpicking that. And whilst Iwobi's busy, and I love the way he does that sort of sideways bunny hop. Jack and I were having a good laugh about that. So watching him, he sort of does that little hop to the left. It's almost like a Dutch supporters thing, you know, that one they do in the alleyways. And
so specific. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I got the reference.
Yeah, you all saw it. You all was painting pictures. What we do. No, but I just think that. Notwithstanding what you say about Reece Nelson and that he likes to run, I think what we do need is someone who can run at defenders, not in the same way that Adama does, where he breaks into open space and causes chaos. But I'm talking about someone who can break into the box, break left, break right, and actually possibly hit a clever short pass. Because I'm not wanting Adama to do that or try and participate that. He may well be good enough to lay one off, but he's not going to get the two of the 1-2, right? Hold on. Whereas Smith Rowe feels like he's missing an equal. I think he can actually be that player to participate in the clever, intricate passing in the box. I mean, Iwobi has found Smith Rowe a couple of times in the last couple of games. And I think when we begin to try and pull that off, and pull it off, I think we look like a team who can actually break that kind of defense. And so for that reason, I'd like to see a change there. Not just wholesale, but when we anticipate that kind of defense, I'd like Marco to be thinking not just, Iwobi's in my starting 11, but I think Reece Nelson is a perfectly capable starter if that's what we need.
Can I pose now that we're kind of just like on the subject of kind of like would you rather's, but just in general, because we got Skibby here, so it would feel wrong not to. How do you guys feel about Andreas Pereira, or have we already covered that?
Well, the only thing I was going to say, and this was a loose thing.
Immediately on the defensive.
It's just like, oh, God. No, basically what Elton was saying, which was, you know, we struggled to unlock those sort of low block defenses, but we did have some success in unlocking that defense with putting Adama in behind. And for me, there was a pass, I believe, from Pereira that did that. And I think there's part of me which is cautious, which is Pereira. I know Dave's mentioned the stats before, which is, he has a 67% success rate and things like that. But I do find that he is making those intricate and cutthroat passes, the key passes, as it were, that from midfield to attack, which allows us to get in behind a low block team like Forest did. And for me, it's when Pereira's not in the team and we start to look at Lukic and Berger in the middle, you do lose that aspect of a key pass. And this is no disrespect to Lukic. I think what he does is fantastic and it's great for what we need right now. However, he's got a very good pass success rate because he goes sideways and backwards.
Mm-hmm.
However, as soon as you want to go forward, I don't see it.
Yeah.
But Pereira does give us that option at potentially every 3 passes he gets one through.
I'd actually argue, though, that Berger has got that pass in him. He hasn't got going
But
yet.
He didn't
He's
play
hardly
the
had
number 8,
any
though,
minutes.
did he?
No. But he's hardly. Well, the problem is every time we try and find who will be the partner for Sasa Lukic, Marco has to drag him, because he's getting very close to the 5 yellow cards thing. And I think that continues to be, yet another thing destabilizing our midfield. That's accumulating. He's very close to going now, and if he continues at this rate, he's got to go down in the next 2 games. It's going to happen, which is unfortunate because, but then again, it's one of those things. Maybe
then we get Berger and Andreas, and it's fine.
Then we get Berger in, and Berger, like Mooney, sees his opportunity, grabs a start, does well, and then who knows what happens.
I will actually say in this game, I did think when Berger came on, I didn't necessarily think he played better than Andreas. I actually kind of almost preferred Andreas for large portions.
Lukic was in the number 8, I think, when Berger came on.
But again, Berger kind of did nothing for me when he came on, and he wasn't really providing. And I was like, well, I don't really know. That's a really weird situation at the moment. The only thing that's consistent in there at the moment is Lukic, but I mean, maybe it might even just require just a complete reshuffle, kick Lukic out, and then just basically see if that works a little bit better.
How can you do that? How can you kick Lukic out?
I mean, I'm a chaotic thinker. I believe in the laws of 100%. Like, if it's not working or if it is working, just do it 100% either way, and then just see what happens. But I'm not Marco Silva. I'm just a guy with a microphone right now. I'm just saying things.
I'm canceling your crypto account tonight.
I'm not going to take advice from somebody who calls himself Pod Daddy. Okay.
Self-proclaimed
Pod Daddy,
as if,
who's got merch regarding it.
But what did you think, guys, when Berger comes on and Lukic goes to the 8? I would have thought Berger is the guy actually challenging for a potential. The way I see it, I think I actually see him challenging for a potential 8 scrap with Andres Pereira. Clearly, Marco doesn't see that. Marco doesn't see it that way,
which is weird because I know he's a big boy, but he's always kind of been more of a technical kind of passer, and he's just tall, but I don't necessarily see him as being overly strong. I mean, obviously because he's big, he's strong, but I think he would probably see himself more as an attacking midfielder, even though that's not necessarily the way that most people would actually see him.
Yeah.
But
I think it's
interesting.
It's that point where he said that Marco said that he brought him in to be the number 6. So I think he's got a vision for him to be the number 6, and what Marco's like. He's quite set in his ways, and I don't think he'll say, oh, because Lukic is playing so well, we'll put him in the number 8 then, because I guess throughout the whole training sessions and everything, they've been trying to mould him into this number 6, which is now locked down. So it's a a very weird
do you
position to
think-
be in.
Do you think that Marco is going, okay, we need to blood him, we need to onboard him, we need to get him fully down with how we play, and Sasa, you play the number 6 until Berger's ready? Is that what you think Marco's thinking is? Or do you think
Well, he kind of
he
did that with
feels
Lukic when you got him
those two
in.
are, do you think those two are competing eventually for the number 6? Or do you think that because he obviously trusted Lukic in the 8 more than he trusted Berger in the 8, right?
Yeah, at the moment, it's like it is a weird one because I think as much as I'm really interested actually in this and just kind of just like players in terms of like player philosophy. I've actually heard Polini actually talk about this because he talks about how like some players like scoring goals and yeah, I like making tackles and I get more out of like making really key tackles and scoring goals. Because it's just kind of down to like personality types. So you can want somebody to like be something and you can put them in that position and you can say, play this way. But I think if they have a natural inclination to like play a certain way, it's going to be really, really, really difficult for them. And they could be a great player, but I think you can do all the prep work. But then when you're actually on the pitch and playing the game, you're going to just kind of like lean into like what you know best and what you do best because you just want to play the best way. And I think he's you can say, oh, Berger, I want you to play a 6, but I think he's just naturally always going to be more of an 8 until Silver's probably going to have to grill him for like a full year to a year and a half before he could probably be that solid position that he wants to be, you know?
Hey, just because you got a subscription to Football Manager or FIFA doesn't mean you know more than Marco Silva, right? Here we are.
I wish that could work in FIFA. It kind of does, but it also doesn't as well.
But I mean,
Stevie, what do you reckon?
He's no fool. He's identified that this is the role that Berger can play for him, and he's sticking to it. And geez, he's a stubborn man, and he's prepared to stand his ground. He's very patient.
Yeah, and he'll win. Like, patience is probably one of the hardest things. Skibby, you go. I can tell you're gagging.
It's
go.
It's the 4-1-4-1 formation, which I think is the one that I've talked about previously, and I think that's what he's going for. Is in possession, we have 4 defenders, 1 holding midfielder, Lukic, and then we actually have 2 almost attacking midfielders. So you've got Smith Rowe on the left of the striker, you've got Andreas Pereira on the right of the striker, and you've basically got a flat attacking 4. I just can't see Lukic fitting that role when we haven't, when we're not in the lead, and when we're not, or when we're looking for the lead. I just can't see him take that position. But when we were 1-0 up, which I'm sure we'll get back to eventually, right, guys? But when we were 1-0 up, and we were able to take Pereira off and bring Berger on, then we can change and we can have sort of 2 sitting centre defence to really shore up that defence. But I do find that when we're chasing the game, I just think we talk about Pereira being this number 8, but when we've got the ball, he's actually more of a number 10. He goes right up the pitch. And I think Kostas Shaktiko, massive shout out to him, but he pinpointed some passing triangles and where we were building. And basically Sasha Lukic was smack bang in the middle of the park, and then you kind of had this divide, and you had Iwobi, Smith Rowe and Robinson, with Smith Rowe being the more central of the 3, and then you had Tete, Adama and Pereira, with Pereira being the more central of the 3. But they were all basically in the same position, but far up the pitch, and then left and right, respectively. So I just think it's the way that we've set up in those attacks when we're going forward. I just can't see Lukic sitting in that position. Could be wrong, but time will tell. Because I know that, we're getting into the crunch time, but we're getting to a point where Marco knows who his best 11 is. And I just think that, would you change how we've been setting up and how we've been going forward, where we've unbeaten since the opening game of the season?
Well, it's given our given our form at the moment, it's very, very difficult to make an argument for why he should be changing anything, really. Although, I mean, we won it by the smallest of margins, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. It was tough, and we got a result, but it was very tough,
Yeah.
and we didn't create a million chances, and neither did we score have a million shots on goal.
Well,
Let's get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think 0-0 half time. They took off Awoniyi for Elanga. And we talked about Awoniyi. I thought he was an absolute pest. I don't know if he got picked up a knock, but there was penalty incidents. And, it wouldn't be a Premier League game if we didn't talk about the referee, VAR, and there were four. Four in total. First half, Awoniyi bouncing ball. Anderson looks to clear the ball, catches the back of Awoniyi's leg. Looked dubious to me. I've seen him given. What do you guys think? Should that have been a penalty, or do you think it was a right call?
Oh, look, Brooks batting. I'm going to another cricket reference. Caught, Dave goes up for caught behind. Clearly, it's clearly out. No, what I'm trying to allude to is the fact that it's one of our players. Who cares? No, only kidding. I didn't actually. I didn't actually see the incident, and it wasn't actually replayed. So obviously, it was replayed, but it wasn't a lot of attention given to it. And I think it was just a comment made that VAR's checked that and moved on. But I suspect we might have got away with one there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. It's one of those where the defender has eyes on the ball, goes to put his foot through it, and the attacker gets there first, gets a foot on it, and then clips the back of his leg. Thoughts go back to, I think it was, it might have been West Ham that we got a penalty like that, and it was just very like, ugh. It's one of those things. I mean, Sam, I don't think you have a thought on that, or shouldn't have been.
I do have a thought on the Jimenez one, because I'll skip to it, because it literally just popped into my head like while we were just doing this, and it's kind of similar to when Leo didn't win an Oscar for Django Unchained or Wolf of Wall Street, but then won it for The Revenant. I don't think he should have won it for The Revenant, but at the same time, we've had so many ones go against us recently that I feel that we were owed this one. It all plays into the conspiracy that literally, if you don't get a couple, you get a consolation one. I'm not even fully, I don't fully think that Jimenez deserved it, but overall, we definitely deserved the penalty in these last 3 games. So I'll take it. But I mean, is that a clear infringement against Jimenez? If I let you get away with your bullshit, response.
Were you watching the game? Were you actually watching the game?
I was a bit delirious at this point. I'm not gonna lie. It was like 1:30 in the morning my time.
It's one of the. I always think when in those situations where someone's clearly going for the ball, and it might even be a sort of a fresh air shot, and the other player kind of gets in the way, no intention to kick out at them or to, and yet they do get a kick in the back of the leg. I think that's it's kind of unfortunate. It's not even a dangerous situation, because they couldn't have contemplated that they were actually going to kick someone. It's not like you're arriving, really, really aggressively into a tackle where it's very obvious you're running into someone. Those are really difficult, and I'm not quite sure how they really decided. Obviously, in slow motion, they look far worse than in real time.
It's like I never understand, because sometimes they take into account intention, sometimes they don't. It feels very much kind of like whatever's happening in that moment. It's very, very inconsistent. We could honestly do an entire podcast talking about this, but it's literally just sometimes it falls our way, sometimes it doesn't. And this time it did. So I'm just at a point now where I can't even be asked really breaking it down too much. I'll just take it when it happens. And I'm almost at the point now where I just accept it when it doesn't. It's it's really just it's luck of the draw.
I think the Awoniyi one for me was one of those where it was a minimal contact was the reason it got waved away, but it seemed to be probably just as much contact for me, potentially, as the Pereira one. But let's move on to the Pereira one. So, I mean, Pereira, obviously the ball comes in, Murillo is standing on the back of his ankle, and, you know, he does a sort of a slight... I wouldn't call it a push. I'd call it an extension of the arm into the back of Pereira.
Okay.
So, your thoughts are penalty or no penalty? Elton.
I thought it was a penalty, probably on 2 counts. And I've got another general beef with 18-yard box fouls in general, as I was mentioning on our internal chat. I don't like it that refs think so hard about the consequences of actually awarding a foul. Is it a foul or is it not a foul? Just because it happens to be a potential penalty as a result of the foul, I don't care. Because would that be given in the middle of the pitch? I reckon it would 100% be given in the middle of the pitch. Yeah. If you were standing one-on-one and you gave a player a shove, particularly if in giving him a shove, it moved his head out of the line of the ball so he couldn't head the ball, right? You definitely threw him off his course. The scrape down the back, I don't think the scrape down the back of his Achilles was in any way intentional at all. It was just part of the ruckus of what was happening there. But again, did he impede him? Absolutely. You run your studs down the back of someone's leg like that, they're not going to lift their leg. And so I think he was definitely impeded there. I'd accept that if I saw that on a replay against us.
I think that's the key thing is what you said. If the push for me isn't a penalty, and I think the standing on the ankle isn't a foul, but when you combine the two, that he's stepped on the back of him and then pushed him, that he can't recover his balance, and then obviously the ball comes very, very close to where Pereira is in the box, you've impeded him. You can't say that's not a foul for me, and I think the ref's got that one right. Sammy, anything else to add, I think? Sorry, Elton?
You're 100% right. The defender, he has cobbled together an advantage by those 2 different actions. One of them, which I think is a real accident, the studs down the back of the leg.
Yeah.
But if you take that view and think about all of the manhandling that happens on a set piece like a corner in the box, ridiculous. I mean, the stuff that's allowed, which is clearly giving a defender or even an attacker who grabs someone around the waist and pulls them to the ground, but because they're not right in the line of play, it's kind of ignored. It's ridiculous what it's now sort of got to. It's like a rugby scrum on a set piece. It's kind of laughable. Any one of those incidents in the middle of the ground would be a foul, possibly a red, possibly a yellow card.
Yeah, I'm almost reluctant to actually talk about this because you can't actually talk about this without referring to other games where it's kind of the context has been different, so things have been disallowed or allowed, and you should never really kind of refer back to a previous game to justify what happens in another game, because that actually makes no sense. It's just what's happening there in that moment. So I just let it be. I just let it go. It's happened. It's like an argument with a coworker. It's just you got tomorrow. That's what tomorrows are for, I've let it go.
But the reason we talk about previous games is because we want consistency, right? Consistency in the refs.
I gave up on consistency so long ago, bro. That was like season 2 of this podcast, where literally I just get that. That's why I hate transfers. That's why I hate the transfer season as well. There's a lot of consistency, and it's all horse shit.
Because I mean that brings me to another point that Forest went down the other end after our penalty, expertly put away by Raul Jimenez, and there was a bit of drama which we'll touch upon after this, but Ilanga, great tackle by Bassi, gets a tap on the back of the calf, goes down like a sack of shit, and part of me thinks back to the City game, I believe, away when we were 1-1 right in the last minute. It may have been home, actually. That's irrelevant. But Robinson touches the ankle of De Bruyne. He goes down like he's just been shot, and we get a penalty. So when they had a break in play and I saw Bassey's foot touch the back of his calf, I was like, oh, this is going to get given. Really soft. But again, waved away for minimum contact. And for me, that is common sense. That there's one thing about looking at a potential foul in the box, which is, did he make contact? I don't think they should look at it and say, is it contact or is there no contact? And automatically give it because there is contact. I think minimal contact. Has there been enough force by Bassey to clip the back of his leg and make him go down in the same fashion that he did and stay down, which makes this even more embarrassing for Elanga? No, and they waved it away. And for me, there was a few things on Twitter saying we got away with one, or, Fulham got away with one. But that one, out of all four that I saw of the game, that was the worst one. And I think they should retrospectively book Elanga for diving because it was cheating. Any view?
I'd be really
open to the
hypocritical.
floor.
Because I'll be honest here, I'm actually kind of pro cheating, to be perfectly honest. Because look, but see it this way though: if you're not cheating, it's Eddie Guerrero. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. But at the same time, it's like that actually is what professional sport is. We can talk about the purity of the game, but it took England probably about 50 years before they realized we should probably try cheating as well, because that's how you win major tournaments. And it's less actually about like cheating more or less. It's more about kind of really just understanding that the game is adjudicated in a certain way, and you can manipulate that to your advantage. So I could criticize, but really, if the same thing happened to one of our guys and it went our way, I'd actually say that that's good tact. I mean, what we're actually talking about is the fact that he tried to do something relatively clever and manipulate the situation, and he didn't get away with it. And that's the most egregious thing. He just didn't get away with it. And that's the reason why he looks like a mug. But if he got a penalty, Forest fans would be cheering, and they'd be very, very happy. So if he's guilty of anything, it's not basically doing a good enough performance.
Sam, I've dug you out of some shit before, and I don't know how I'm going to do this.
That's all right.
Because
I've been getting into Machiavelli lately.
I cannot support that on any level. I disagree that sport's about cheating.
But it kind of is, though. Come on.
No, it's definitely about winning, but actually, ultimately, and I think this is actually proven every week when it's actually about entertainment. It's about entertaining the fans. And of course the fans are most entertained when you win, but I don't think consistently fans love it if you cheat and win, or somehow don't do it in some kind of heroic way. I think there's obviously a class of fan that doesn't mind how you win, but I think the majority of people aren't up for that at all.
No, of course not. Look, I'm speaking in very broad strokes here, but I do think
you've been watching pro wrestling too much, basically.
No, I have actually. No, I just recently read The Prince by Machiavelli, and that's just really given me a sour kind of view on how to manipulate people and such. But genuinely, I do think that I'm speaking in broad strokes. But you do have to have tact. You do have to be able to, like, as you said, you have to be able to create an entertaining thing so people want to support you. But then you also have to be clever, and you have to actually have good nous about you. Because if you're just playing purely all the time, you're just going to get taken advantage of teams that are just going to manipulate those situations.
But don't you think that Joachim Andersen is a really good example of...
You hate playing against Joachim Andersen, but yeah.
Well, I don't have to anymore, but he is sort of, shithousery with a beautiful haircut.
He's pretty privileged.
And Yeah, and he's kind of got that glint in his eye that he just has a little smirk at the ref, saying, "What, me? Me? No,
Possibly.
I think it's you. You're hallucinating, not me."
He just
Um,
strokes your cheek and just says everything's okay.
yeah, and I think he gets away with some professionalism but out and out cheating is faking diving and faking an injury where there was no foul contact.
But I would
I
argue
think that
cheating is
these
also
are great extremes.
But I would argue cheating is also like batting your eyelids and saying it's not me, mister. It's the other person running down the wing. I just had to trip them over and batter them because like what was I supposed to do? You know?
It depends on the underlying offence, I think.
Yeah. I know.
Because if you
How
hack
did we get
someone
here?
down,
How did we get to this point?
if you hack someone down and then
anger.
if you hack someone down and then flutter your eyelids, well, good luck to you because I don't think you're going to get anywhere. Yeah, I think we've lost Sam again.
Yeah, that brings us to the next point, which I wanted to talk about, which was we had the penalty, but there was a little bit of drama, which was it came out that Andreas was the designated penalty kick taker, but Raul seemed to pick up the ball quite confidently, which, you know, he's got, I think, 100% record in the Premier League, so why wouldn't he be? But then it comes down to this bit of grey area, which is Andreas was the one injured, therefore he's had to go off the field because he's taken up a bit of taken some sort of support off the physio. But yeah, I guess it's more of what's your view on, you know, that kind of argument taking place on the pitch. We've seen it before with Mitrovic and AK-47, but is it something that gives you more of, you know, your players are confident and you want them to sort of have these conversations, or do you think unprofessional, we've picked the kick taker, just let him take it, or, you know, at least give him a good reason of you're going off the pitch anyway, so you're not going to take it? Oh, I think you're on mute, Elton.
Yep. The first one there, the first point there is that there is a carve out in the FA rules that even if you're injured and sent off, if you're the designated penalty taker, you can come back on. So that does not exclude Pereira in that instant. I want to say that Jimenez was actually saying, mate, you've just had some studs run down your leg. I don't know how much you were faking it, lying on the ground,
limping heavily.
But you may well be. He may have been crying wolf, but he may well have been a little bit injured. And so, are you in the best place or position to actually take a penalty here? It wasn't quite as ridiculous as the AK-47 ball snatch. That was crazy. There's literally almost, you know, blows on the field when that happened. He was clearly in the wrong because Pereira, if Pereira had looked like he was very happy for Raul to take it, I think Marco probably wouldn't have been that upset. But Pereira clearly wanted to take it. He is the designated penalty taker, and Marco's pissed off. And can you imagine if Jimenez didn't score that?
Yeah,
that would be a problem.
Because you haven't only undermined your manager, you've undermined your teammates as well. And if that fails,
100%.
then you've let everyone down, and it just leaves a bit of a sour taste. But I mean, we got away with it. It was a very well taken penalty. He's got a 100% record in the Premier League, I mentioned. He's only missed 2 penalties, I think one in the Europa League and one on international duty in his entire career. So, you know, he was in good hands. Excuse me, he was in good hands. But it's, you know, it's just a point of respect to your team, respect to your manager. And, you know, if it had gone wrong, then you do have a bit of egg on your face.
I did actually see what I did. I actually watched the post-match interview with Silva, and Silva was. It felt very much like school teacher just trying to like avoid the conversation, just being like, "We spoke about it. We're not speaking about it again. It will never happen again."
Yeah, but he was clearly pissed off, and there's a designated penalty taker, and he broke the rules.
He would have been. And he would have been fuming.
That would have been 15% of what would have actually happened in the change rooms, and what probably was said on the bus on the way home.
Both of them would have got the cane on the hand, like literally. Like it would have been like.
I don't think Pereira wouldn't get the cane. Number one,
no, he would just send a message, just to send a message.
even if you're in the right, you're still getting it.
Yeah, you were there.
Yeah, no, he'd. I think. I think Jimenez would have absolutely copped it.
Yeah, but we went on, and more changes from Forest, and they brought on Callum Hudson-Odoi, Jota Silva. They really went attacking. They lost that that main shape that they started off with. That really sort of contained us, and then it became a really open game. Nelson came off the bench for us, and it became a bit end to end. How nervous did you feel, Sam? That you got your hand up. I'm going to you anyway. How nervous did you feel, and did you feel that we were quite comfortable? That it was opening up into our favour, that we would go on to score more, or did you start to feel this has got 1-1 written all over it? How did you feel?
Honestly, I was a little bit nervy when Smith Rowe was still on, but then when Diop came on and we went 5 at the back, I really, really like that system at the moment. Like nothing actually makes me feel more secure than that at the moment, and because I feel like that actually is the best of Diop when he's even in that back 5 like setup. Like it looks. It just felt so secure because he was already really, really secure. And yeah, we did sacrifice like a lot of like attacking like chutzpah. And I think we had like a couple of like breakaway opportunities, but we did not have like the support that we needed just because we were just defending so much. But you know what? I'll kind of take that because we were actually able to see out the game relatively comfortably, in my opinion. Even though they were coming at us really, really hard, it felt that it was still quite locked down. That was my personal take on it from what I was actually seeing. But it didn't feel, at least to me, it didn't feel like we were going to concede because it just felt so secure. But that's just how it felt for me.
And there's actually a fantastic analogy which I have in the Discord with, I'm going to say his name's Bartin. But I may be mispronouncing it. But I said that I love that Diop comes on because he's got Anderson in the middle and then he's got Bassi and Diop either side of him. And I said, Anderson's like the brain and Bassi and Diop are like the limbs. 100%. And he just said, yep, Anderson is the hive mind, is what he said. And I think that's a fantastic analogy of he just tells them what to do. And it's Diop's bread and butter and Bassi's bread and butter, which is you could swing in those balls all day long, like coming into the last minute of the game, and he'll just head them straight back to you. And I think it is a really good point to make. Sorry, Elton, how did you feel?
No, go ahead. I thought it was, I was pretty anxious. I think whilst the first, let's say the first 60 or 70 minutes was stodgy. We were lucky to get that penalty. There was nothing in it. We were defending really well. I didn't feel like I thought it was just close and tight, and there just weren't many opportunities for those first 60 or 70 minutes. And then all hell sort of broke loose, and I felt Hudson-Odoi was really dangerous. He's a good player, and I thought, as much as it was end to end, and therefore opportunities for both of us, I was a bit nervous because anything could have happened. And we were not trying to shut down and put the game to bed and manage the game right up until I was watching it pretty carefully. Pardon me, right up until really with about 2 or 3 minutes to go, we were still trying to score another goal. And so it was on, and it was a little bit frantic. But fair play to Diop and to Bassi. They defended manfully. And, what's interesting as well, have you noticed that since Anderson's arrived, we're much more likely to put our foot through the ball when it gets a bit tight
Yeah.
and just sort of drop the pretenses of beautiful football, just manage it, put your foot through it, get rid of it, and not be kind of shamed by that. Whereas actually, if you've got 3 minutes to go and you're protecting a 1-0 lead, I'm fine with that. Absolutely fine with that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
No,
I don't care. I don't care too much for beautiful football when I can see out games, and I quite like the chaos. To be perfectly honest, like it gives me adrenaline. It carbonates my blood.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of chaos, Steve Reynolds, my weekly question: should we look at Diop at? I think that's CDM. The short answer is no. The long answer is probably another hour.
Anderson there.
Anderson would be a shout. I think Diop doesn't have the composure to be in the midfield, but he's fantastic at, like I said, the ugly stuff of you put ball in, I head back, basically.
Yeah.
He's very good at that.
I mean that's a pretty tasty shout, isn't it? Imagine Anderson there. We go and buy ourselves another centre back on the right because I wouldn't be happy with Diop sitting behind them. Diop's fine to come off the bench and do the stuff he's doing, even if he had to play a couple of games through rotation on an injury. But he's not the answer. But
yeah,
how interesting would Anderson be at in the six?
Well, I mean,
tell me he couldn't do that. Tell me he couldn't do it.
I mean, I use it on my career mode all the time. Huh?
Sorry,
I don't know if he's as mobile. I don't know if he's mobile enough. He's not as quick as sort of like Lukic would be to sort of gather, but his intelligence would probably outweigh that. So I think, it'd be a tough one, but I think I'd prefer him at centre back at the moment. But if we were to get another centre back in, potentially, why not?
I mean, I would only want him to like move up there when we were directly attacking in more of like a holding position, and then immediately kind of come back when we were like transitioning out of like possession. But again, that's a whole other conversation. I'd rather look at that lovely table right there. That thing's a thing of beauty, isn't it?
That's it. I mean, we're sitting in the top six. There's only 6 games in, but I mean, I'm still going to take it. And I mean, before we end today, should we, enjoy it while it lasts, or should we start getting comfortable? What are you guys feeling?
Well, we do have City, so I mean,
off the back of being the second best team against Newcastle, who we beat.
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. Look, it's. And then we also don't we have Villa like directly after?
We do again through to Ipswich Town.
Oh, I mean, don't give me hope. I'm a simple person.
It's like are we starting to think now that we've got this reputation of being Fulham? We finish 12th every year, blah blah blah. But should we start looking at these Man City games, these Aston Villa games, and thinking, what these are games that we should start to look at getting points. I mean, Man City are showing that they're not the force that they used to be. They drew to Newcastle United. Haaland's a beast, let's be honest. He has 3 touches a game and all 3 of them are goals at the moment. So, but, Newcastle came to us. They were pretty awful. They go to Man City. They could have walked away with 3 points there. And Villa, they were 2-1 up, I believe, against Ipswich. And still got pegged back late on and got a draw. They're not invincible teams, and we've got quality now. Why can't we? Let's dream big. Top 6 is always going to be stupid, isn't it? We're not going to get top 6, but to help us get into that top 8,
it's just the fact that it's just the fact that this is a public forum right now, and it's really easy to jinx myself. So I'm just I'd rather be really, really conservative and then go into the game with all the hope in the world, like I always do, because until kickoff, I just refuse to let myself believe, just because I just can't, like, every time we play Man U right now, I believe too much and it just hurts me. And don't even get me started on playing Chelsea because I hate Chelsea so much. And then like playing them, I always have hope. And it's only happened once, and I almost cracked a rib. I was so excited. So of course, look, okay. Short answer: of course, we can give them a game. We've given them some really good games actually over the past couple of seasons. But I'm not Elton. Don't say I'm not going to say that we're going to go like 2-0 against Man City. I just can't. I just can't. I can't even say we go 1-1 with Man City. My body won't let me do it. But am I going to have hope? Fuck yeah, like 100%.
I don't think it's hubris. I genuinely believe that Silva thinks he can beat Man City. I really believe it.
Oh, of course he does. Of course he does.
And he won't be thinking that just out of thin air. He will be trying to hatch a plan whereby that could be a possibility. The problem we've got is that what's your realistic likelihood of keeping City scoreless? That's difficult with Haaland, and there's plenty of other players that can put the ball in the net as well. The problem with City is that, they're not only individually so damn good, they're actually a very, very well, oiled machine. They work incredibly well together. So, and we're playing them away. At home might have been a bit different right now when we are hitting a bit of form. But our problem remains, in order to even come away with something out of the game, you've surely got to score a couple of goals. And you've got to score a couple of goals. You've got to be able to score a couple of goals against anyone, one of your peers from sort of 6 to 14. And we're not doing that very well. So that's kind of a problem. Not to say that Jimenez, with his probably neck in front of Muniz at the moment, he is actually playing pretty well, Muniz. He's... Sorry, not Jimenez. Nothing would surprise me. He could easily get a brace against City. Why not? Right? But I watched that game last night for me, Villa Ipswich, and I know Ipswich are a bit of a handful at home. Incredible crowd support, and they're just a really well organized, very, very competitive team. But they made Villa look a bit ordinary. The Villa they did not look like a top 5 team versus Ipswich sitting at 18th. So can we get points against Villa? 100%. We can beat them. At home, we could definitely beat them. I'm definitely up for that. I think I really do believe that we are approaching a point where we will be confident against any of these top 6-8 sides. I really do.
I think you're 100% right that Silva wholeheartedly believes that we can take on anyone, and I think I'd be worried as a manager if he didn't think that, but I think he fully believes it with his full chest. Whether the guys actually believe the same thing, I think some of them definitely do. A couple of other them might need convincing. The problem is when you play a team like City, it's mostly mind games as well because you're playing City. It's the same with like playing Liverpool. It's the same with playing Man U. Chelsea can be like 13th in the table. You're still playing Chelsea, and you get caught in your head with the fact that you're playing Chelsea, and they know that, so they capitalize on that. We have a massive advantage now that we have Anderson, because I feel that he is the king of composure, and he is holding that back line down with that. So we're pretty much in the best position that we can be. But as I said before, I will not say anything that I will come to regret at a later point.
But it's a good point, though. It's a good point. We talk about it all the time and over and over and over because we love Anderson. We love having him. But this is the first time that we play City and soon Villa with Anderson in the back. Has our back line and defensive unit been better? I mean, if we had João Polina sitting in front of those back four, you'd be bloody confident taking on just about anyone. Lukic still doing a very, very good job at the moment at 6. Trust me, people wouldn't just be getting on the bus and turning up to play Fulham. They'd be thinking tactically very, very carefully about how they break down Fulham, how they break down our defence. We're not a pushover. We're a very, very good defensive unit. So, again, I think the problem is more how do we score 2 or 3 goals to get something out of a game against City? Because that's how many goals they're probably going to score.
Yeah.
And if we can't do it, against, West Ham or Forest, how are we going to do it against City? That's got to be the question.
But then you'd argue that they probably wouldn't be defending as much as those teams. So where we say we struggle against the low block teams, but we're a good counter-attacking team, plays into our hands. But we have a Man City preview coming up, I imagine.
Yeah, I feel like we're just kind of bleeding into that now. We got to wrap this thing up,
exactly that. So stay tuned for all of what Elton just said, but in more detail. But no, guys,
keep talking.
No, you will not. It's done.
But no, this has been most enjoyable. This has been a really good view, and I think Forest was a tough game, but for us to come out with a 1-0 win, fantastic result. So I think it's good to see that these games that we would normally struggle in and come away with a narrow 1-0 loss or a draw, we're actually come away with 3 points for once. So it's momentum. We're going in the right direction, and 1 loss out of 6 is pretty good, and I think it's our best start for 20 years. So may it continue. But Elton, thank you very much for accompanying me tonight and keeping us all in check.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for hosting, mate. You've done a great job. I've enjoyed it. Nice chat. And as a final closeout, what I'm loving at the moment is that we're doing what really, really successful teams do. We're actually just getting points, even if it's not pretty, and long may it continue.
I genuinely thought you were going to be like, we're doing what really good teams do, and we're building up the youth team so that they surpass us. But you went in a very different route. I thought that was a really nice bit of poetry there that you just didn't capitalize on.
Well, and Sammy, thank you very much as ever.
No, thank you for having me. The youth team is finally arising. I'm using the analogy now, and So me, Dad, and Jack will soon be obsolete and be put on loan to another podcast, and we'll just continue to watch you thrive, and then reap all the benefits. Just not tell you where the accounts are going and. Yeah, that's just invest. But no, you've done genuinely great, Skibby. I hope to be on the next pod you host, and I look forward to many more.
No, it's been most enjoyable. But no, thank you all for taking part. All the guys in the chat, you guys listening, wherever you are, thank you very much. And yeah, don't forget the Discord is still open and it's crying out for more people. So if you're not in the Discord, make sure you join. Make sure you have a look at our articles in cravenpod.com. And yeah, last but not least, thank you very much, and come on, you Whites.